Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 4th of December 2020. Today we're going to talk about doing a top-down analysis. I'm going to use the supply and demand software, but I'm not going to use the automated analysis. I'm just going to do this manually so that everyone can follow along. So what are we trying to accomplish when doing a top-down analysis? Well, typically we want to know where the big flows are on the major time frames and take this into consideration when we're on the smaller time frames taking trades. And this is important because if you're on the 1 minute chart and you are not paying attention to what's going on with the major flows, what could appear to be a really nice area of demand could actually be washed out in very, very short order. So it's very important to be mindful of what is going on these major time frames. When I say major, I mean you can obviously look at the daily, the 4 hour if you're a very short-term trader, but it's really good to pay attention to the weekly chart. And you can see actually where if you have like a big strong run on a weekly chart, this is going to carry the 15-minute chart either up or down for a very long period of time relative to that time frame. And so it's really important to pay attention to this information. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to identify what is driving price. So if we have a look here, you can see that we have a high, a low, a high, and a low. So this is a little bit confusing. But what we can see is on the bleeding edge side here, this is the weekly chart, we have a high, a low, a high, a low, a high, a low. And so price is moving down pretty quickly. And so what would this tell us? Well, that would tell us that we should be selling, but further up, because this is the end of a move. Price is reacting to this buy zone just here. Let's just mark that off. Just here to the pip, and so price is likely going to turn around and seek liquidity, which is likely higher somewhere in this little pattern here. So if we have a look at that, what we could do is we could take a rectangle and we could box off this just here. And I'm marking this area off here because price comes down, price moves against it. Okay, so we had strength moving against it, but then this candle forced price lower. Okay, this candle closed below these two candles. The pullback is where the slingshot was pulled back to. So this is where we have the beginning of the sell zone on this time frame. So we go to the daily chart and continue our analysis. We want to look for similar things going on here. And things that are important to pay attention to here are areas where price historically had a difficult time moving through, but eventually was able to move through. And let's find an example of that. Let's have a look here. So if you look at the lows here, how price tested, we had a respect for this area for a pretty significant period of time. Price distributed on the area, we pulled the slingshot back, and then we left. Okay, so this is a really nice example of where we had price gnawing away at small pools of liquidity here, which were finally consumed. Slingshot was pulled back, and then we had the release. So you want to look for these because these are very important to us, and if you don't see them, then they're not there on the time frame that you're looking at, because everything is relative to the time frame that you're looking at. And so what may appear to be an area of distribution or accumulation on one time frame, maybe nothing at all on another time frame. And so everything is relative to these time frames. So if you look here, you can see that we had price come down to this level and then leave. This is telling us something about a price point here, because this is actually an area that's been tested historically quite a bit. How we had it tested here and here, and then here price managed to move through a little bit, but then we closed above, we tested it here, we went down, we moved back, and then we left. And so the area that was able to consume this originated from the highs here. So this is telling us that on the daily chart we have the beginning of a sell zone that is just here, which is the edge of this weekly chart. And above that we have something that looks like an area of supply, how price came down. We have a candle moving in the opposite direction. This is showing us an attempt to attract sellers by advertising higher prices. Price pulled back and then we dumped. And so we have a few things going on here. Let's mark this one off here. And we'll go to the smaller time frames and have a look. Go to the 4 hour. And notice that we're just moving lower and lower and lower. Okay, we start on the weekly, we go to the daily, and now we're on the 4 hour chart, and we're looking for the very same things. Okay, so you see this, and I like this a lot. I like this a lot because we had our price tested this area. It did not manage to move below it. Tested it. We came down on it. We did not manage to move below it, but we sat on it for quite a while. So we were consuming liquidity here. We were distributing liquidity. Okay, and then price finally moved lower. Okay, and so this is the area that is responsible for violating this area just here. It was tested once, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then price cut away. So this would be an interesting area to consider for a trade setup. This is something that I would typically look for. So we have something that looks like that. Okay, so that's pretty much how I'm going to go about it. And so we started by looking at a weekly area of supply. We zoomed in to the weekly area and we found a daily area, or the beginning of a sell zone, and then we moved down to the 4-hour chart and we identified this really nice area. And if you go to the daily chart, okay, like so you can see this blue candle. So we have red, red, blue, red, red, blue, blue, red, 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 blue, red, blue, red, blue. Okay, and so you want to identify these pauses, because this is where we have small continuation patterns. So we have liquidity changing hands. We are filling orders to move price lower, and it occurred here. So this would be a really interesting place to look to sell. Good. So that's how I like to do a top-down analysis. I like to start on the weekly and then move down to the 4-hour and sometime to the 1-hour if there's no clarity on the 4-hour. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section or in the Discord channel. Thanks for watching and have a good weekend.